Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of The Truth About Fantasy Football, the Grueling Truths weekly fantasy football show brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app that lets you call what's going on the offense or defense in a live NFL game and compete against other users around the country. That's Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com or at thegruelingtruth.net. I'm your host for the Fantasy Football Show, Matt Andruscavage, and I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Oz Davis. How's it going tonight, Oz?
I'm doing okay. I'm a bit surprised that the Edmonton Eskimos are losing 14-0 as we speak, but I'm okay.
Yeah, that's kind of a surprise. Although I wouldn't know because I'm still learning about the CFL, but I'm going to take your word for it because I do read your articles. So.
Right. Thank you, sir.
And I'd like to welcome in our other co-host, Aaron Zepnick. How's it going, Aaron?
Hey, glad to be back. Can't wait to get this show going.
Yes, sir. We got a lot to talk about. So, have you guys done? You guys getting close to your draft? And you heard from your commissioners or anything like that about your drafts yet?
Well, the show must have went all right because I was asked to be the commissioner of a league at work this week. So,
it sounds like it went okay.
Yeah, I'm getting that rolling. So I got that going for me.
Excellent. How about you, Oz?
Wow. We got to get the Grueling Truth League started.
That's going to be tough.
That's what I'm depending on. Why? Why is it going to be tough?
Because it sounds like you guys are expecting me to run it, and I've got 2 leagues going. I've got a lot of articles to write, and I've got shows to do. I just don't know how I do it.
Well, I have no time either. However, I have no leagues. So if I want to play, I think I'm going to have to start this one. You'll play, won't you?
Oh, yeah. I think
you'll play,
maybe
right,
we do.
Aaron?
I would definitely play.
Maybe we do where you pick 1 or 2. Everybody gets to pick 1 or 2 players each week, and the one with the most points win, or something like that.
Suicide League, yeah.
Something like that.
But in any case, we'll organize this later. But that's my league, so no, I haven't heard anything from myself.
All right. Well, yeah, I know I've got a draft coming up at the end of August, so I've been doing research, and so I thought about a little bit about our topic. And for the first topic we talk about tonight, we visit a little bit our quarterback drafting position strategy. You guys, the more I think about it, I definitely like to be I like to pick a guy a little bit later, but it's going to be really hard to turn down a guy like Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers. So I have to admit that even though everything we talked about last week, I'm a little conflicted now with where I want my quarterback. You guys feel any different about where what your positions were?
Well, this is what I'll say right now. First of all, here's the caveat: is I tend to overdraft at least slightly my top 2 or 3 quarterbacks. If I can get one of those 2 or 3, I will go high. I will go like second round maybe on these guys. No problem. For me, I would agree with the names you just mentioned. My top 3 this year is the same as my top 3 last year. That would be Andrew Luck, in fact. I got as number 1. Rodgers and Newton. Luck and Rodgers, for me, I had each on respective fantasy teams, and they did okay. However, not as good as I would have expected. And, in fact, my hero was my 4th quarterback on my list this year.
Your hero?
Yeah. The savior of my team. The savior of my team in the second half of the season.
Nick Foles?
Yeah, definitely Nick Foles, who incidentally just got cut yesterday,
That's
which
right,
is apropos of nothing except that I am very, very happy. That multi-year deal they signed him to last year really makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering about some of the moves you guys have made. Starting to wonder.
Oh, God. Okay, don't drag me into that part of the Rams.
Which doesn't really bode well for Jared Goff.
Not very. But you got to treat.
Then again, you guys did hit the jackpot on Gurley.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. But we have to treat this like an expansion team, basically, because that's what they are. Should I go on with my top quarterbacks list? I would say draft any of these guys as soon as you can get them. As soon as you have to pull the trigger on one of these three guys, I personally would do it. But like I said, I draft a little too high.
Sure. So you like Roger? Yeah, but your top three are also my top three. I have a different order, but I would agree. Newton, Rodgers, and Luck has to be the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you get any of those, three, you go high, I think.
And after that, I feel like I could drop down and just start loading up on skill guys.
I have Rodgers, Newton, and Luck as well.
Uh-huh.
Those guys are worthy of like a second-round pick. If you can't get one of those three, I think you wait it out to the 5th, 6th, 7th round, like we talked about last week.
Yeah.
But also, it depends who else falls as far as receivers and running backs and maybe Gronk or what type of league you're in. I think you have to consider that. A PPR league, like the one I'm starting at work, is a PPR league. I've never played in a PPR, so I think running back and receivers carry a lot more value in those. If it's a standard scoring league, I think it's worth maybe even taking a Rodgers or a Newton in the first round, later in the first round. I think getting the top three, one of the top three, but there's not that big of a point differential. And if you look at we talked about this last week, 1 to 12 is not that big of a difference. And if you get a Ben Roethlisberger, a Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Carson Palmer, Matthew Stafford, I mean, the list goes on and on, Blake Bortles, you get one of those guys in the 5th or 6th round, your value and your depth at your receiver and running back position is going to be so much better if you don't go quarterback early.
Right. That's why I usually go late. But, boy, it would be tough to pass up on. And I'm even looking closer at Drew Brees because I think I think Brandon Cooks is going to emerge even more so than last year. I really like the Michael Thomas draft pick, and I like Willie Snead a lot. What's his name out of the backfield, the running back? Can't remember his name. Almost Mark Ingram. Ingram gets like 50, 60 balls as well. So I just can see Drew Brees getting close to 5,000 yards again and over 30 touchdowns. It's really hard to pass that.
Wow, really? See, I just don't have that much.
Yeah, I think he's got at least one more really good year left in him.
Well, Drew Brees didn't really have a tight end to go to after he lost Jimmy Graham. And I think you look at Kobe Fleener going over to New Orleans, it's going to be a huge get for Drew Brees, and I think you're right, but he should have a decent fantasy year. I just don't think that they have the experience that they need. And Cooks and Snead are both going to be good, and the Thomas that you mentioned. But what's one thing they all have in common? They're all young receivers.
Yeah.
And we all know that in big moments, young receivers have drops. Young receivers can make plays, but you got to take the good with the bad. I mean, as a Packer fan, I look at Devontae Adams. I mean, everybody's expecting him to be, the Greg Jennings in his prime or the next big thing, and he's still only a young receiver, and I think he's still evolving as well. But I actually have Brees as 4 on my list. I think he's going to have a pretty good year.
Wow, really? Wow.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of – I think New Orleans, their offense is going to be a little bit better this year. If I can't get those top three and I'm going to wait, once I get to the 3rd or 4th round, if Drew Brees is still there, it's going to be really hard to not take him.
No, because you take Blake Bortles, dude. You take Blake Bortles. Far more. Look, seriously. No, seriously. See, laugh all you want to. I don't know about that. Blake Bortles. I'm going to be starting Blake Bortles, and I'm going to be crushing the opposition. Because, look.
You could get Blake Bortles in the 8th round, 7th round.
Oh, do you really think so? Then when am I going to get Tom Brady?
Well, I mean, if Bortles
is dropping that low, I can build my whole roster before I even draft Brady in, like the 10th round? No
Brady may not draft. I think Bortles will drop below Brady.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow. I mean,
Brady will put up as many points in 10 weeks as some of the guys from 8 to 16 put up in 14 weeks.
Right. That's how I see it too. I know I like Blake Bortles. I just don't think he's going to be regarded that high. I think you could totally wait on someone like Bortles.
Wow.
Well, look at the quarterbacks.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to stealing him late then, because I think this guy's poised to have a monster season. I mean, look, Robinson was tied for the lead with touchdown catches with 14. Hearns put in another 10. Yeah. I mean, and by the second half of the season, he had, like, the interceptions under control. He wasn't throwing, like, 3 picks a game. I mean,
the guy gets hit a ton. He gets sacked so many times.
Well, yeah, but
I just don't know that everybody views him.
Okay. Look at the quarterbacks I named, though. Eli Manning has Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, and Victor Cruz. Okay. Carson Palmer has John Brown, Michael Floyd, and Larry Fitzgerald. Okay. Andrew Luck has T.Y. Hilton. Andre Johnson still there?
No, but Dante Moncrief and
Dante Moncrief is going to be a beast. And then who else? Roethlisberger has, well, Martavius Bryant's out, but he's still got Marcus Wheaton, maybe?
Sammy Coates, Marcus Wheaton, Antonio Brown, and Ladarius Green at tight end.
So, I mean, and those guys are all quarterbacks that are known fantasy quarterbacks. They've had really good years. Bortles had an average year last year. I wouldn't say he's a top 10 quarterback yet.
He's getting there, but not yet. I'm telling you, man, if you like Bortles, you can really let him slide.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he'll go 6th, 7th round if somebody's really high on him, like Oz. You said you drafted quarterback high.
I was going to draft him first overall pick.
Even a guy like Jake Cutler, who's not a very good quarterback as far as getting you wins in their franchise, he's got Alshon Jeffrey and now Kevin White coming off an injury, who will be appealing to some people. I am not reaching on a quarterback if I can get, a top 10 receiver in the first and second round, a top 10 running back in the first and second round. I'm filling those 4 positions first. And I'm probably going to go with a Greg Olsen or a Travis Kelce even before I pick a quarterback.
Oh, you could build your whole roster before you draft Blake Bortles. You could totally build your roster. You will have no problem getting him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, he's in my top 5. So I guess moving on then to we were talking about like what our top 5 positions were with running backs, receivers, and quarterbacks. Let's stay in that vein with quarterbacks. I think Aaron and I have Drew Brees at number 4, so we all have the same top 3. Mine 4 is Brees. Aaron's 4 is Brees. Who's your number 4, Oz? Is it Bortles?
I'm going Blake.
Is it somebody else?
I'm going Blake. No, Blake.
Blake Bortles, number 4.
Absolutely. Look.
Over Russell Wilson? Over Eli? Over Philip Rivers?
I thought about Russell Wilson because I think that, I like his receiving core or whatever. But look, dude, it's no fun in fantasy football in making predictions for the season if you just go with the same guys every year. I'm just hedging. I'm hedging my bet. I think the Jaguars are going to have a great year. I think Blake Bortles, Robinson, Hearns are going to have a great year. I just do. That's where I'm hedging my bets. That's it.
I agree with that.
Okay, look.
But
I don't disagree either, but no one else is going to think that. You can get them way late.
Yeah.
Hey, I think he's hedging his bets on the right bet because I would do the exact same thing. I would take a chance because I know, one, we talked about the production Blake Bortles had last year, and it wasn't that bad, but he did have a lot of sacks. Once you eliminate those sacks, you can imagine the production he's going to have with those 2 top receivers, which arguably is the best 2 young group of receivers out there now. That's not going to stop. So, you know what? You are absolutely right. And, yes, it's not the common decision for anyone to make, but you are taking a risk that, one, I would take. And at the end of the day, Blake Bortles is going to prove true. So do it, man. What is fantasy football without making it a fantasy and taking a risk? Do it.
That's right.
Well, for everyone that does not know, that was not Oz talking. That was former 49er running back and kick returner Dexter Carter, who is going to be on our next show, and he wanted to sit in on our show. And so just so you know, that was Dexter Carter. That was not Oz. So
we're recorded in front of a live audience. A live audience of one. But it is a live audience.
Yes, just remember, you could have gotten Bortles 2 rounds later.
Oh, we agree that Bortles is going to be good. But, boy, I wouldn't take him really high.
You passed up a Thomas Rawls or a Carlos Hyde in the 3rd round to get the 4th or 5th best quarterback when you could wait 2 rounds to get him? I don't think so. And, yeah, it's a fantasy, it's a risk, it's a jump, it's hedging your bets, whatever you want to call it. It's still silly when it comes to strategizing because you could be building depth for your bye weeks at your running back or receiver position. You could get an Allen Hurns instead, where he's not going to be there 2 rounds later.
No. All I'm saying, all I'm saying is this. I believe he's the number 4 quarterback this season. Okay,
not where you're going to draft him.
Okay, right, exactly. Now look, like I said before,
I can live with that.
One of those first 3 guys, I'll probably overdraft if I get the chance, right? So I'd go Cam Newton in round 2 or whatever. But then it becomes, if I don't get him, it becomes a game of chicken, right? I'm just waiting to see how long I can wait. Look, if I can wait through the 5th round, the 6th round, even the 7th round, I'm starting to get sketchy and still not have Bortles, I'll do that. That's all I'm saying is I think statistically he's going to be the 4th best guy this year. Look, you guys take Breeze. I'll take Bortles. I'll be happy with that. That's all I'm saying.
I don't fault you for that. I commend you. I think Bortles will have a good year as well. I think there's the top 4 personally, and I think there's about 12 guys you can group into the next tier of quarterbacks.
Yeah, see, I think there's 3.
I think that out of the 12 guys, I would say 7 or 8 of them will go before Bortles.
Yeah, wow. If I like Bortles that much, I'm telling you, you could get him in the 8th round and have this stacked team, and then bring Bortles in. If he's gonna have that kind of a year, which he could, then you're just loaded. You could probably have.
And what's the worst thing that happens if Bortles would go the pick in front of you or that round before you? Oh, no, you got to take Roethlisberger or Russell Wilson or Matt Ryan.
Well,
the point differential is just minimal.
You're telling me that everybody's gone, so at that point I'm going for Jim Tom Garapity.
No. See, I think everyone's going to be gone, and Bortles is going to be sitting there for you. I really believe that.
But that's what he was saying is, what do you do if somebody takes him the pick before you? Right, you lose the game of chicken, basically. What happens?
Well, you don't want to hold out too long.
There's still quality guys you can take in that round or the round after or 2 rounds later, because then everybody has their starting quarterback and they're really concentrating on getting the tight end or the position that they're missing out on because they took a quarterback early.
Right.
That's just it. If you're in a 10-team league, which most leagues are somewhere between 10 and 12, usually it's 10 or 12, you map out the top 10 to 12 quarterbacks. And Bortles may not even be in that list for a lot of people.
Why not? People are sleeping on
I'm just saying because he's not totally proven. We could name, I mean, like you said, I would go Russell Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning. You could get really, really close down to 10 or 11 guys.
Manning? Wow.
Absolutely. Eli Manning puts up.
Eli's got a lot of weapons around him this year.
He gets over 30 touchdowns. He gets 4,500 yards. I mean, that's
playing behind the offensive line that's got to fit together.
He'll have 13 where he throws 3 touchdowns.
Right. So you could totally, you just watch to see who goes. And if all those guys go, and if Bortles were to go, well, bummer. You get Phillip Rivers, who had 4,800 yards last year, and now he's got more weapons around him. So, I don't disagree. I don't think
quarterbacks ever been deeper than this year.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's 10 guys that are the difference in points is going to be so minimal. There's like 10 of the same guy out there.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. We shouldn't destroy this point
as far as stats, but even if he is, it's not going to be by that many points per week that you have to reach on him. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just a big believer in getting the top guy at your position. Okay, so in other words, if I'm drafting like 9th or 10th in a 10-team league, okay, and everybody else is going wide receiver, running back, I'm thinking about Gronk. I'm thinking about Gronk and then, who the best athlete that's left. Those are my top 2 picks.
Sure.
I mean, because why not? Because he's definitely the best at the tight end position. So why not?
Just don't pick Bortles in the 3rd round. Don't do that to yourself. You can get him later.
I don't know where you guys got this idea that I would do that. I don't know where you got this idea.
Well, you're really high on him, so we're just making sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm not that high. I'm not an ECP here. Jesus.
All right, so Bortles is your 4. Who's your 5?
5, I kind of put up for grabs, but I think I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. Although I like the potential of Brady, too, especially if you can get Garoppolo as well. But then if you go that strategy, then you need a 3rd quarterback. So I'd put Russell at 5.
Okay. Yeah, he's my 5 as well. How about you, Aaron?
I actually had a toss-up between Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, Eli Manning, and Matt Ryan.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty
like
fair.
Like I said, I'm those guys are all one and the same to me. And then you look at Tom Brady, like I said, he'll probably put up as many fantasy points in 10 weeks as those guys do in 14.
Yeah. I think so, too, especially with that team.
What I'd like to say, though, on the quarterback position, there's 2 guys that I think nobody has even got on their radar. I don't think we've even really talked to. I think I touched on one of them last week, but there's 2 guys that I think are sleeper quarterbacks. If you're in a deep league with where you can draft 3 quarterbacks, there's 2 guys that I think are going to have either a really, really good year or it'll be the start to the end of their career. One, Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco. The fact that Chip Kelly is there and he had that running style quarterback in college, he's got the weapon that I think fits his persona. I think Kaepernick could have a bounce-back year, and I also think Jameis Winston could have a huge year, believe it or not.
Well, okay. Winston I would be willing to go with. Kaepernick is way too much of a leap of faith for me.
Well, right now it is because we don't know what
I'm not saying 3rd round like Blake Bortles area or anything. I'm saying like 15th, 16th round where you're like, who do I take? Josh Gordon, who's suspended 4 games, or do I take a guy that could really have a lot of rushing yards as a quarterback? I think Kaepernick, I'd go out on a limb, and I'll say Kaepernick will probably have more fantasy points than Russell Wilson this year.
Wow. That's a limb. That's a limb. This may be betting territory.
Hey, Blake Bortles can be a limb that's a fantasy. I'm saying I think Kaepernick has that talent with the right offensive mind that he could get back to where he was when he was slaughtering my Packers, and I think he could have a bounce-back year where he comes into the top 5 to 7 quarterbacks again.
It's possible. I obviously will have to. Training camp starts on Saturday, and I will say this: whoever wins with Anthony Davis coming out of retirement, if he can regain form and the offensive line is solidified, whoever wins that quarterback competition between Blaine Gabbert and Colin Kaepernick, I would not say don't draft one of those guys, because I do think one of those guys could be your QB2, your back, for sure or one of your backups, especially in a deeper league, because both of those guys can run. I think they're both going to be effective this year, whichever one wins the competition.
Are we sure that Chip Kelly is a great NFL coach? Or even
no, we're not sure about that.
I'm not saying he's a great NFL coach at all. I'm saying I think he's a great offensive mind, and I think it'll benefit Colin Kaepernick, and I don't think that there's even a question on who should win that job. That's just
no, there's no question on who should win that job. No. That's 100% true.
Well, if he comes out and plays really well, and definitely looks like he's taking over the position, I also think he's going to have a good year. Do I think he's going to outperform Russell Wilson? That's tough, and I'm a big Niner fan, as everybody knows. But I will say I do think he'd have a good year, and possibly the kind of a bounce back year that you're talking about, Aaron. But I don't know if I'd go that far.
I'm just glad that this is recorded. I have proof. I was on record in saying it.
Yeah. No, I
believe me.
I admire
Dexter and I are hoping you're right.
I admire the guts of your call. I am not. I don't believe it's going to happen, and I hope it doesn't happen because the Rams don't need more competition. They got to get that 8-8 this year.
You guys have the 7-9, 8-8 record all solidified. So
and
it's just a matter of will you be in third or fourth.
Oh yeah. I'm well aware.
So moving on to running backs, who do you guys have in your top five now that we have to, especially now that we have to consider the Le'Veon Bell suspension?
Well, the top two are obvious, right?
Oh, maybe.
I mean, it's Gurley AP. I've got Gurley as number one. I think for the reason that not necessarily because he's badder ass than AP, but because he's going to suck up so much more of the Rams' offense. It's interesting. I noted that the Vikings ran, I think, on 48% of plays, almost 49% of plays last season. So I think the Rams could even top that. They're the only team in the league, besides maybe the Vikings, that specifically is going for a power running game this season. So we're drawing out the 1986 playbook this year, and we're going to be handing it a lot to Gurley. So I'd say that Gurley probably edges Peterson 1-2 statistically. That's who my top two are.
So you got Gurley AP. Gurley is also my number one. I got Le'Veon Bell at number two.
I have Gurley as number one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Okay. Is he number one overall?
We all agree on that.
I do think Gurley's the number one overall pick.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the Le'Veon Bell suspension. If Le'Veon Bell is not suspended, I would go Le'Veon Bell, but Gurley would be my for sure number two. So I think it's close either way, but right now it's got to be Gurley.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I was thinking that today too. Yeah. I think it's got to be Gurley.
Who's your number two, Aaron?
My running back list has some serious what ifs, and I hate to be the wishy-washy guy, but my number two flat out is David Johnson, actually.
Wow, that's fair. A lot of people are really high on him.
I think he is stronger, faster, more powerful than 90% of the running backs. I think he's a young AP in the making. He has not had the injuries and the amount of carries on his body. I think he's going to have an unbelievable year. And he catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. He can do it all. If Charles is healthy, I think Jamal Charles is number three.
Mm-hmm.
And Bell, I have at 4, and I have Devontae Freeman at 5.
Devontae Freeman, okay. I've got Todd Gurley 1, Bell 2. Jamal Charles is my 3 because I think he'll be back. But obviously, like you said, it's a what if. Can he play all 16 games? We don't know. David Johnson's my number 4, and Adrian Peterson is my 5. Devontae Freeman, I think it's possible that he is also a top 5 back.
Yeah.
But it's questionable. Not really sure.
Now, the reason I kept AP off my list is because of the PPR.
Yeah.
Because we talked about PPR. And I had Adrian Peterson last year, and I tell you what, he comes out of the game a lot on third down for Jerick McKinnon now.
Yeah.
And the goal line carries went to Asiata last year a lot. Peterson was stopped more inside the 5-yard line last year than any other running back.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good. It's a fair point.
Yeah, you believe
Definitely
it.
Fair point.
You believe it. Yeah.
But he'd have to break a long run for a touchdown.
Yeah, if he doesn't get in from 6 or more out, he's generally he's still got a fair share of touchdowns. But I think that the PPR, that if we're going with that format, that plays a part. And he didn't have the amount of touchdowns. Like I said, Devontae Freeman had 70 catches last year, 78 catches for 600 yards. And he had 14 combined touchdowns. I mean, that's a lot of points. Granted,
he did put up a lot of points last year.
I think Tevin Coleman will take from that, but I still think Devontae Freeman, he's done nothing to warrant not having first crack at that job.
Absolutely. No question. He deserves to be the number 1 running back. So we'll just have to see if he can regain. So, Oz, who do you got for yours for 3 through 5? Who are the rest of your top 5?
Okay, so at 3, well, I win Gurley AP. At 3, although now I'm thinking about dropping him. At 3, you guys have like really colored my running back list. That's for sure. At 3, I've got Le'Veon Bell. But my question is, I'm going to turn this back on you for a moment. If you get Le'Veon Bell, do you work hard to handcuff D'Angelo Williams in the draft? In other words,
not necessarily.
Okay.
Because he's 33. There's no real guarantee that he's going to. I mean, I think he surprised everybody last year with what he was able to do. It's hard to believe. Now, like I said last week, I'm in a dynasty league. I have Le'Veon Bell, I have Antonio Brown, and I also have D'Angelo Williams.
Oh,
I also have
the choices
a
made
number of other running backs. I've got LaShawn McCoy. I've got a couple of other guys. I don't have to depend on D'Angelo Williams. I don't know that I would go nuts to try to get D'Angelo Williams. I mean, if I can get him very late, I think I pull the trigger.
15.
Yes, if he's available that late, I'd probably get him. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I would use a mid-round draft pick on him.
I agree. I don't know if I'd work hard to get him or work hard. There's other handcuffs out there that are just as valuable, if not more valuable. Like the one in Kansas City, I forget his name's escaping me now.
Yeah, Chardanwick. I think I can't remember the last name. Is that the right guy? The Chardandrick?
Yeah, West.
Chardandrick West. Yes.
Yeah, West.
He's a good back.
Yep, and I would handcuff with him, or I'd handcuff with James Starks, Eddie Lacy's backup. I would handcuff with a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys out there. I mean, there's C.J. Anderson and what's his name from Denver?
Hillman?
Ronnie Hillman. Yeah. There's just all kinds of good 1-2 punches that you could handcuff with that I think are just as valuable as a D'Angelo Williams at 33 years old. Like you said, if I need a fourth running back and he's out there in the 14th round or so, maybe I take him then. But that's all I got on that.
Mm-hmm. So you got Le'Veon Bell as your 3.
Okay. Yeah, Bell.
And then what do you got after that?
Sorry.
I was asking what you got. Who's your 4 and 5?
Oh, okay. You talked me into it, Aaron. So I'm going Freeman at 4. Yeah, sure. And for 5, I didn't really know who to pick, so I got a couple of sleepers or like guys that I'm looking out for. Not really sleepers, but I would draft. You guys are gonna love this one, but I would probably overdraft Elliott. Yeah, he's gonna get a lot of work.
Okay.
Sure,
yeah,
he's going to get a lot of work.
Not a bad pick.
No, and the thing is, McFadden, he was number 4 in total yardage last season. After being cast off by the Oakland Raiders, this is a pretty good offensive line, particularly for run blocking. I think the argument that you guys made last week that he's played in the limelight, so that's not going to scare him off. I like that argument. Truth is, he's going to get a lot of work. They believe in making guys famous there in Dallas. So I'll put him at number 5. I also think you stole my thunder a little bit, Aaron, when you name dropped C.J. Anderson. I think Anderson's going to get a lot of work, especially in the first half of the season. The Broncos were already running the ball 39% of plays last season. I think he's going to, and that's a pretty decent offensive line going on over there. The statistic I like that I got from NFL.com was Gary Kubiak, in 13 seasons as a coordinator or a head coach, has had, how does it go? He has produced 8 top 10 fantasy running backs in those years.
Right.
So
yeah, I believe that.
I think there's going to be a lot of running in Denver in the first half as Paxton Lynch, who will eventually be great, I think, gets warmed up to the NFL. So Anderson might be a nice pick, especially, mid to late.
I'll be honest, I'm a little leery of C.J. Anderson. I've had him on my teams in the past. I'm worried that this year he's going to suffer from Jamal Anderson and Terrell Davis back in 1999 when everybody stacked the line 8-9 deep just to stop him. I'm worried that everyone's going to go after C.J. Anderson, and he's going to end up averaging like 3.1 yards a carry or something like that. But I mean, he might not. They have a good, but they lost Evan Mathis at guard, and I thought they lost another lineman as well. So I'm a little nervous about C.J. Anderson, although I do like him a lot.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
Again, I got a couple other running backs here just to mention. One I'll bring up later in my Who's Going to Bounce Back segment, but another guy that I think warrants at least a top 10 running back look is Thomas Rawls from Seattle.
No doubt.
He stepped in, and I would take him over Elliott, and then I had like Elliott right after them guys there. So I think Rawls is a guy that can hit the home run. He's also a guy that can, get you the yards.
Yeah, that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Rawls is definitely a guy that I think he's regarded around that top 10, but I think he'll be he may slip a little bit. So he would probably be more of a pretty good value pick. The only thing I worry about with him is also the offensive line. That is their one real big glaring weakness in Seattle. But I do think he'll have a good year. I don't think it would be a terrible pick to draft him, but that's the only thing that would make me nervous on him as well. So that was we finished out running back, and then wide receivers. I know we talked about. I don't think anybody would put Antonio Brown at any other position except number 1 with all the numbers he's put up each year. And then I gotta believe Odell Beckham's my number 2, and Julio Jones is my 3. I gotta believe that we're probably all in agreement on that. Where are you guys at with that? What's your top 3?
My top 3 is a little different. I
really?
haven't. Again, I went off PPR. PPR points. I went Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and Julio Jones.
Okay, DeAndre Hopkins. He's my 4. Yeah, he's pretty good.
I don't have Odell on my top 5.
Really?
No,
I do not.
I don't.
Really?
Nope.
I think
he's
Odell's
going to get over 100
on
catches. I think Sterling Shepard is going to open things up for him, so he's not going to see quite as much double coverage. And I think he gets over 100 catches this year, especially if he plays all 16 games. He's never played 16 games because of.
Well, I think all 5 guys
injuries.
on my list will have 100 catches too, though.
Okay.
So I'll finish up my top 5. I have Antonio Brown, Andre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Des Bryant, and A.J. Green.
Okay. Wow. I've got Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, and Jordy Nelson. Yeah, it was really tough to pick between Des Bryant and Jordy Nelson, and then I would have A.J. Green and Des Bryant obviously right below them. But I think Jordy Nelson's going to put up another crazy year with like 13 touchdowns, 1,400 yards.
Can I really wow you guys? Odell Beckham's not even in my top 8.
Really?
Yeah. I'm worried about him sharing catches. I'm worried about that.
There's only one ball to go around, and with Sterling Shepard and Vic Cruz, Larry Donnell, and the running back, I don't see him having as big of a year. I think this is a bust year for Odell.
Yeah. Yep, that's my thinking too.
Well, if that's the case, you're going to be happy because someone's going to draft him high then, and you will not care.
No, absolutely. No. Yep, I'm not a believer.
After my top 5, I would say that Allen Robinson, Alshon Jeffrey, and who was the other guy I had up there? Alshon Jeffrey, Allen Robinson, and Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you guys still haven't touched on one of the guys I really like.
And who is that?
Okay, so here's my 5. Brown, of course, is number 1. I got A.J. Green at number 2, simply because I don't believe that there are any other real viable weapons there in Cincinnati. I think he's gonna completely hog the catches there in Cincinnati. I think he's gonna get a lot of targets. So I got Green at 2. I've got Hopkins at 3. I really don't like what's happening at quarterback in Houston. I don't think anybody does, but Hopkins has been ripping it up no matter who's throwing the ball. And Osweiler at least seems to be, I don't know, like in charge of the football fundamentals, let's say. So I think Hopkins is, he's going to defy the odds and have another great year. And then after that, I got Allen Robinson. Now, on the bubble, I have Amari Cooper. Can I interest anyone in Amari Cooper?
He was in the top 10 for me. He was next.
Okay. See, I like Cooper a lot. I've been overdrafting him since he was a rookie. So I like him a lot, and he's Carr's number one weapon. I think Carr is developing into a quality quarterback, and I love what Oakland is doing right now. I think this team is a contender this year, at least for the playoffs. So I expect a lot out of Cooper this season. So I'd put him at.
Are you telling me that you don't have Julio Jones in your top 5?
Nope.
Or Odell Beckham?
Nope.
Wow.
But you see how variable our lists are, right? We all have these different combinations in our top 6.
Somebody's got some serious static.
What's that?
Somebody has some serious static. There, now it's gone. Okay. Oh, now it's back.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I'm not hearing it.
All right. Well, so no Julio Jones in your top 5. That's interesting. So
but it's still close, isn't it? That's so close.
So is he your 6?
I would have Dez, I say, at 7, and then. Well, see, then you still have Beckham in there too. See, it's all bunched up in there. I know. Sure. I know. I like my top 4. My top 5, I should say. But after that, it's all bunched up. I think you have the same situation like you do at quarterback. I also think that this is a great year for wide receivers, and it's going to be pretty hard to miss as long as you get one of the top, maybe 12 or 13 receivers. You have at least one good player, I think. So I think it's a pretty good year for receivers. I think these lists are going to be very variable. I mean, after Antonio Brown, which of these guys is a top 10 pick overall?
Top 10 pick overall, I think Julio Jones is.
Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, maybe.
Hopkins. Maybe.
I'd probably go Odell Beckham too, but that's me.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. We can say that all the time. I like Amari Cooper in the 3rd round, but that's me. I think that the receivers are so bunched up this year that you can't lose on a lot of these top 13, 14 guys.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Overall, that if you get one of those guys, you're in good shape. So I guess that's a good segue into our next segment.
What about tight end?
First tight end? Well, after Gronk. Tight end. To me, tight end's going to be a little weak this year.
Seems like it.
Really?
There's not a lot of tight ends that I'm just really wowed by. I like Travis Kelce. I really like Ladarius Green in Pittsburgh. I like the possibilities of Kobe Fleener in New Orleans.
Yeah, see, I don't get that. I don't get your love of Fleener.
That I'm missing. Tyler Eifert is very good, but he's so injury prone.
Yeah.
He was real good for my team last year, but he was out a lot.
There's 3 on my top 5 that you haven't named yet.
3 of your top 5.
I was thinking about my top picks for tight end. I did not actually put them together. And I was thinking, wow, Eifert would be number 2 if he weren't injured constantly. Seriously, I mean, when this kid plays, he's off.
Eifert's not in my top 5.
He's not in your top 5.
All right, who do you have? Gronk number 1.
Just because of the injuries, I didn't put Eifert in my top 5. I have Gronk. Yeah. I have Gronk as number 1, of course. I have Travis Kelce. I have Greg Olsen, Gary Barnidge, and Jordan Reed.
Yeah, Jordan Reed. Barnage could definitely be another guy. He was really good last year. I had him on my team last year. Jordan Reed is probably going to get a couple
others that I think will be good. Zach Ertz, I think will have a good year. And I also think that Martellus Bennett is going to be like the Aaron Hernandez that Gronk was missing.
Absolutely.
So,
he's going to be a great number 2.
I'm actually excited about the tight end position for the first time in a long time.
Wow.
Julius Thomas might have a good year in Jacksonville as well. I think he was hurt last year. If he's healthy this year, he could help. He could be pretty good. Zach Ertz, I think, is good in a PPR league. Non-PPR, I don't think Zach Ertz is going to find the end zone for some reason. I've read that in a couple places. He usually doesn't find the end zone, but yeah, PPR for sure, he's good.
And there's the Richard Rodgers, Jared Cook in Green Bay, and then you have the Larry Donald's a good red zone target for Eli. He's a big guy. They like to throw to him a lot down in the red zone. And then there's also the I just lost it now. Kyle Rudolph. I think Rudolph will have a pretty good year. Now that they have 2 outside legit weapons with Treadwell and Diggs, I think teams can't focus on AP and Rudolph in the red zone anymore.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. Yeah, I would buy that.
I would buy
that. Although
up a little bit for Rudolph.
Yeah, see, Rudolph has been so. I mean, he caught fire for about 2-3 weeks a couple of years ago, and he was very flavor of the month, and I got burned. So I'm still a bit hesitant about Rudolph, but I like your assessment. I think you put forth
Greg Olson's really good too. I did forget about Greg Olson. He's a top 3 tight end for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next topic then is, what positions are you hoping to have in your first 4 draft picks? Are you looking for 2 receivers and 2 running backs, one of each position, or a combo of the above, or some other combo? What are you guys looking for your first 4 picks as you're building your team?
Well, go ahead, Aaron. I'll let you do this one first.
My strategy is I don't look per se for the exact positions to have, but I look to have at least a top running back and a top receiver, or 2 top receivers or 2 top running backs, depending on who falls to me and where I'm sitting. I think you take the best value on who's on your board, and I think you can't go wrong if you get a guy that is a safe pick. Like Julio Jones is a safe pick in the second round, high second round or early second round or late first round. I'm picking at 10 in my 12-man league, and I'll tell you right now, if I can get Julio and Gronk, I'll be a happy man.
How about you, Oz? Oh, were you done there? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's just my theory is I'm not going to take 2 tight ends, obviously, but if I can get a running back, a receiver, and then another one of those and a good tight end, or if a top quarterback slips, then that's what I'm doing.
All right, Oz?
Well, I think people are getting the idea. I like the idea of getting the best guy or the second best guy at every position. I think in general, again, you have to adjust to conditions. But I think in general, after the first 4 rounds, especially if I'm drafting early and I have more control, I want quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or running back, wide receiver in the top 4. In general. But, again, you have to adapt to conditions. A couple of years ago, I was drafting 12th in a 12-team league. And I went wide receiver, and I had a pretty good result. So, again, you have to adjust to, your situation. But in general, I like to fill those top 3 positions in the first 4 rounds, if possible.
Yeah, for me, I usually don't get one of those quarterbacks to fall to me. So I'm usually immediately going to the strategy of getting my quarterback late. So I like to have 2 really good wide receivers and 2 good running backs, or if there's a third running back available, I pull the trigger because, like we talked about last week. Yeah, because the drop-off is so big with running backs, depending on how your league is structured. And some guys are going to get stuck with a running back as their starter that would be like a running back 2 in most situations if running backs get gobbled up. So
yeah, but you play PPR, so wouldn't wide receiver, running back be the best combination in the first 4?
It depends on how it's set up. I value running backs pretty high, and if I can get 3 really good running backs, because the way our league is set up, I get 2 flex positions. So if I can play 3 really good running backs that can score, I can get LaShawn McCoy and Jamal Charles and Matt Forte. Obviously this Matt Forte would have been a couple years ago. I'm going to go with that because those guys are going to score. They get a lot of receptions, and they score on the ground and in the air. And some of their owners are going to get stuck with their starting running back is going to be one of the lesser running backs. And then one of those guys goes down, all of a sudden I've got major trade bait. So I usually go that route, but obviously on just an average standpoint, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs. But I'm not afraid to pull that trigger if I see a really good third running back out there.
It's not a bad strategy either. I agree with that. If you can get 3, RB1s or 3 RB1, RB2s, and when you're playing guys on your bye too, I mean, you don't have garbage in there as your starters.
Right. All of a sudden you're bringing a guy off the bench that he's starting for basically every other team.
Yeah.
So I think
where you draft is a huge play on what you have to go with or what you do.
Yeah.
I think if you're early in the top 4 or 5 picks, I think you have to kind of reach on a guy if you want him. Same thing if you're late. You got to kind of let the draft come to you, and if you're in the middle, you just have to draft the best player available.
Yeah.
If you don't like anybody, trade down and get an extra pick the next round, and then get that.
Yeah, if you're in the middle, you definitely have to go best player available because you're in the middle of every round.
Yep.
Yeah. Middle sucks.
Yeah, it does. I don't really like it too much. So, and then our last segment, if you read any rankings, or if you just watch the game or you're familiar with fantasy football, there's always going to be a group of players that they get rated pretty low, and most people are going to shy away from. Who's the player in that list that you think is actually going to turn out to be really good and you're going to end up getting a steal?
Go ahead, Oz.
Okay, I'm going to go with Latavius Murray with the Raiders. Again, in general, I like what the Raiders are doing. I like what their offense is doing. I think that this year they may be able to do something that the Raiders haven't done in, 16, 17 years, and play a majority of games with a lead. So I think that running back will suddenly become important in Oakland this season. So I'm going to go with him as a mega sleeper at running back. And also, can I say one more time? I mean, I thought I was going to forever be remembered for overrating this guy, but I guess now you guys are going to remember me as forever overrating Blake Bortles. But Pharoh Cooper, he's going to be my last round pick.
Well, yeah, that's he's a rookie. I think it's possible he ends up being pretty good. How about you, Aaron?
He's going to get a lot of trying. He can make this
I actually
team,
have a lot of
tries.
I could say a couple. I'll just say a couple at each position. Quarterback position, my super sleepers are Marcus Mariota.
That's a sleeper.
And Carr.
Yep.
I think Carr will be another sleeper. Running back Matt Jones from the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Ajayi from the Dolphins, although that was before Foster got drafted or picked up.
Uh-huh.
But also Duke Johnson from the Browns, I think, will be pretty good. And a lot of people have him listed as a sleeper. If he beats out Crowell, then I think he could be a big pickup for somebody. Receiver-wise, Justin Hardy from the Falcons. and Rashard Matthews from the Titans, and Sterling Shepard. Those are my three for receivers. Tight end wise, I'm so happy that none of us talked about this guy when tight ends came up, but Austin Safarian-Jenkins, I think, is a guy that's always underrated, and I think have a big year.
Okay. Yeah, see, we just underrated him again.
He's got some locker room issues. He got kicked off the field for not knowing what he's doing.
Was that all?
Things.
Yeah, well, that's why I say he must be a sleeper. Maybe he was in the locker room sleeping.
But I would agree, his talent is he when he's out there. When he was out there last year, he produced. So I would agree with that. It's possible he's going to end up being pretty good. The guy that I've been reading about that has been slipping in the rankings is Doug Martin from Tampa. A lot of people think that Charles Sims is going to get a larger role, and I think he'll be potentially like a third down back. I do not see him. I thought Doug Martin really came on the second half of the season. I think that's going to carry over this year because I think Winston is turning into a decent player, and obviously Mike Evans, they've got weapons there. I think Doug Martin's going to turn out to end up being a lot better than where he's ranked.
Wow. See, that's a gutsy call. I think there's too much committee there. I mean, I like the possibility of Winston, but I'm this leap of faith I'm not going to take.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that big of a leap. I don't think Charles Sims can get that much of a load.
You don't think so?
I think no. When Doug Martin's out there, I mean, he can drop 200 yards on you like quick. He had some long runs for touchdowns.
He's like Pierre Thomas that way. Once in a season, he'll have a big game.
I think he cracked over 1,000 yards last year.
Yes, I apologize to all the listeners for dropping Pierre Thomas's name on our fantasy show.
Well done. Well played.
Well, for sure, next week I know we're going to get into some other stuff as our drafts get closer. We'll probably get into more sleepers, more strategies. So I want to tune in next week for more of our fantasy analysis. So there's also going to be a baseball show coming up, and also if you're a CFL fan, Oz, why don't you tell them what's going on with the CFL stuff?
Sure. If you're a CFL fan, we've got lots of CFL stuff for you. We're in the heat of the season right now. The Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast starring myself and Wisconsin native Joe Pritchard. That happens it usually gets uploaded on Wednesday at midnight, so you can catch it on Wednesday. Also, we have the CFL Pick'em show, which is released on either Monday or Tuesday, depending on how the CFL decides to run the schedule that week. This stars Dieter Brock, among other, I don't know what you would call us, among other folks at thegruelingtruth.net. So lots of CFL stuff for you. It's a great alternative to nothing while NFL season is not on. So please, I urge many Americans to check out the CFL. It's lots of fun, and it's exciting.
Well, definitely. Be sure to check out all of our articles on The Grueling Truth. We'll have a lot more fantasy articles out there, CFL articles, baseball, and also some NFL stuff as well.
Boxing.
So be sure to check all that out. What's that?
Boxing as well. Don't forget boxing.
Oh, yeah. Also boxing. We got a boxing show on Monday nights, so be sure to check that out. You can check all that out on our website, gruelingtruth.net. Check us out on Facebook. We're on Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere that there's podcasts, you can find us. So for Oz Davis, Dexter Carter, and Aaron Zepnick, I am Matt Andruscavage. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.